Well, Rube, this is not the podcast I thought we would be doing when the Eagles were up 10 at halftime in the Super Bowl, but here we are.
Here we are. It just got away from them. A team like the Chiefs, you have to, you can't let them come back up for air. You have to finish them off, and they just didn't do that.
They didn't do it. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. Final score from State Farm Stadium, 38-35. A lot to get to from this game. A really devastating loss. I mean, this is going to go down with all those devastating losses we've seen before. A little ironically, a lot of those were when Andy Reid was the head coach, and on this evening he was on the other side of it. Man, it was a brutal way to lose a football game.
Yeah, I think when you're up 10, halftime, going into the third quarter, really a lot of things were really going their way. And the game was playing out just like they wanted. They were running clock. They were converting third downs. They were controlling the ball. They were keeping Mahomes off the field. I think the Chiefs only ran 20 plays in the first half. So yeah, it was just like they drew it up, and then it just got away from them. The Chiefs just kind of discovered something at halftime, and the Eagles lost something. They just the plays that they were making early they didn't make, and their great players didn't play great, and whatever momentum they had going into the third quarter, and it kind of comes down to the coin toss. If they win the coin toss, they're getting the ball there. But I just thought there were just some really key moments that the Eagles had opportunities they didn't take care. They didn't take advantage of. You think about the Quez drop. They would have had a first and goal on the 7. You think about the Tony punt return. I mean, down to the 5-yard line or 7-yard line. The Jalen Hurts. Look, Jalen was sensational today. I mean, it's incredible, but he dropped the football without getting hit, and it was 7 points.
7-point play, yeah.
So, no one play. A lot of penalties, not a ton of penalties, but some costly ones that wiped out some good plays. I just thought they got out-muscled in the second half, and they got pushed around. And the strength of their team is the O-line and the D-line, and I thought the Chiefs, for the entire second half and parts of the first half, but mainly in the second half, they were more physical. They were the aggressor, and they won those battles on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the pass rush couldn't get home, and maybe some of it was footing, and I don't know, but they couldn't get there. Eagles' offensive line, I mean, they couldn't run the ball. That was a problem. I mean, normally, and you give them credit for putting together some long drives like they did without really being super effective running the football. But, I mean, that's kind of their bread and butter is they can line up and beat you with physicality and move you off your spot, and they didn't really do that. And then, obviously, the other big play that we should talk about is the defensive hold late in the game. It didn't all come down to that play, but it was a big call in that moment. To me, it was ticky-tacky. Like, I don't think it's the reason they lost this game. I think that you could do that. You could play that game and point to it and say they lost this game because the ref threw a flag there. But, the defense got cut through like a knife through butter that entire second half. So maybe if you make a stop earlier, it doesn't come down to that. With that said, I didn't love that flag.
Yeah, I'm with you. He did grab his jersey. Letter of the law. Look, in that situation with 2 minutes left in a Super Bowl, I'm not calling it. You just don't call it there. Let the players decide the game. By the letter of the law, is a penalty. So yeah, but that's not why they lost the game. And look, if they don't call the penalty, it sure doesn't guarantee that they win the game. It just they're going to make a field goal. It just the penalty gave them a fresh set of downs.
And they killed the clock. I mean, they ended
that's
up.
What I mean. They had a fresh set of downs that let them run the clock out. But they still would have had the lead. It's just that Jalen would have had a minute and a half, minute 40 or so to drive down. And I wouldn't bet against him the way he was playing.
No, at least to drive down and tie it.
Yeah.
At that point, I feel like we're robbed a little bit, just as football fans, not getting to see him in that moment. Because that's the thing that kind of sucks about it is like this was a really good game, and then to see that call play that big of a role in the end of it. Not that it's the reason Eagles lost, but it's like I wanted to see Jalen Hurts get that moment. I thought he deserved that moment.
Yeah.
And it's a shame he didn't get it. I mean, by the end of they had one play left, and I think Kelsey ended up stepping on his foot, and that's why there was just nothing under that throw.
Well, they were going to score 80 yards anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would have liked to seen it. That it did leave you with an empty feeling, like a movie with a really bad ending. It's like,
yeah,
what just happened? Like that's the way this is all going to end. And it was such a. I mean, if you're watching as a fan, it was a really fun game. Like if you're not a fan of either team, you're a football fan. Back and forth, some great plays by both teams. So there was a lot going on. To end it like that was definitely anticlimactic.
Yeah. You and I were driving back to our hotel, which is where we're doing this podcast. We've been living here now for over a week. But we were talking about Jonathan Gannon, and you've been a really strong supporter of his. I've been relatively strong. I don't think as strong as you. I just thought he got out-coached today.
Yeah, put in perspective, they gave up 38 points. Obviously, 7 were on the fumble, 7 were on the punt return. So it was a 5-yard drive. Could keep them out of the end zone, but second half they couldn't make a play. And
you got to get off the field.
You got to get off the field. It was suggested that maybe he should have blitzed.
Well, on the one blitz, that's where there was a wide open man.
Yeah, and you just can't blitz Mahomes. He's going to kill you. And their bread and butter all year has been, getting rushed with the front. And I was really surprised they couldn't do that. They couldn't get the pressure with the guys up front. But I thought it was a lot of things. They didn't tackle particularly well. I thought the Chiefs were able to run the ball better than I expected. They really ran the ball well, and some really good plays that were drawn up really well, and that helped them control the second half. They didn't run the ball at all in the first. They didn't have any plays. I think they ran 30 some odd yards in the first half, where they finished with 156, 153, something like that. Yeah, it was not a great half for Jonathan Gannon. I mean, there's no question about it, and I don't think it's all him. I don't think it's fair to put it all on him. You like to see his guys make some plays. Mahomes is so precise, and that offense operates with such precision. Like if you had told me they would hold the Chiefs to 24 points, which they did, their defense held them to 24 points essentially. You'd say they have a pretty good chance to win, but it was the way they scored. I mean, they didn't stop them in the second half. They scored on all 4 drives, touchdown, field goal. So in the perspective of having that lead and then not being able to stop him at all, it's a really disappointing performance.
You just needed one stop.
And
it was like you watch the Chiefs, and they were doing a lot of things they do all the time. It's like the motion, they're killing you when you're in zone because they're finding ways to just scheme guys open. They didn't do anything that was like out of the ordinary for them, and to me, it looked like the Eagles have like never seen it before. Like that part is frustrating because you're like, well, you had 2 weeks to prepare for this, and I know, look, I don't want to take anything with the Chiefs are obviously really good. Like they're the best offense in football for a reason. I didn't think the Eagles were necessarily prepared for a lot of what they did. I don't know how that happens.
No, you're right. And, it makes me wonder, look, they haven't faced an offense this good. They haven't faced a quarterback this good. Look, they earned that number 1 pass defense rating. But they played who they played. They played who was on the schedule, but they were never really challenged by, one of the best quarterbacks in football. I mean, the best quarterback they faced was Dak, and he beat him. Until today, the best quarterback they faced. So, maybe their pass defense wasn't as good as we thought. I mean, they certainly stopped getting turnovers and takeaways. Slade didn't have a takeaway this last 11 games of the season or interception. Bradbury had 1. They just stopped forcing fumbles. It was. You combine that with some shaky tackling, and And I thought the D line got pushed around a little bit in the second half by the Chiefs O line. I really did, and they were the aggressor. They were more physical, and they took it to the Eagles. And I thought that I kind of sensed. Do you think they thought the game was over up 10 at halftime?
I don't know. It's a long halftime. The Chiefs get the ball. The defense came out so flat.
Yeah.
I mean, watching them just drive down the field in that opening drive of the second half, you went, "Uh-oh, buckle up. This is not over." And seeing that Mahomes 26-yard run, that's when you go, "Oh, whatever they shot him up with at halftime, it kicked in." Because when TJ Edwards made that tackle on Mahomes and he came up really limping, Chad Henne's warming up on the sideline, I was guilty of it. I thought, this is over. I mean, there's no way the Chiefs come back if Mahomes looks like that. And ultimately, he didn't look like that. He looked fine in the second half. And you give him credit. He's a great player, and he's the MVP for a reason. But, there was a moment where I thought, we better start planning this parade route.
I mean, they still had the lead after that first drive, but I thought the Chiefs got the momentum back. I thought maybe the biggest play, definitely the biggest play on that drive, the Chiefs had a 3rd and 1 backed up like at their own 35, and I think they ran McKinnon. I think it was like on a pitch, and it was a 3rd and 1, and he got like 15 yards.
Yeah.
And that got them like out to midfield, and they didn't have another 3rd down on that drive. They just kept, dinking and dunking. There's no big chunk plays. It wasn't like, and we talked about this during the week. I mean, they weren't bombs away at all. The Chiefs didn't have a play. They have a pass play over 22 yards. They didn't have a pass play over 22 yards. They didn't have a run play over 26 yards. That was Mahomes' run. So they weren't hitting big plays. They were just efficient. They were precise. They were moving the chains, and the Eagles couldn't stop them.
Yeah, and then on that ensuing drive, the Eagles got something going. Then they had to settle for a field goal. And at that point, even though they had a 27-21 lead, you're thinking, this isn't going to work. You can't trade field goals for touchdowns against this team. And that was a big one. They had, some amazing plays by Dallas Goedert to keep that drive alive. I mean, he was unbelievable on that drive in particular. But, man, you get into a 4th and 6. I get why you kicked the field goal there, but it was unfortunate because I got that feeling right then, like, you need touchdowns.
Yeah.
You can't settle for field goals.
Field goals against Patrick Mahomes get you beat.
And then later on, what did you make of Nick's decision to punt it on 4th and 3 from, I believe, his own 32?
32.
I didn't love that. Look, that's before the crazy long return, the 65-yard return, which was an awful punt, by the way.
Terrible.
I mean, Siposs had a really good punt early in the game. I think he had, it was like a 60-something yarder. And that one, I think, was 38, and it was to the wrong side of where the coverage was going. And then that's why, it was a great play by Tony. But once he flipped the field, there was no one there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really wondering. Siposs hadn't punted since, I think, the first Giants game.
Yeah, I don't think that was the issue because the earlier punt was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like that move. I just think, and Curran hasn't been great, but he hasn't been like the last 2 games.
Oh, you mean you don't like the move to make Siposs active?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was fine with that.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I just think he hasn't played in 2 months. Super Bowl. Curran wasn't awful last week or 2 weeks ago.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal, but that was a bad punt. It was a low line drive, a short line drive. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even a long line drive, so you got it at the 30. I was okay with the punt. 4th and 3 on your own 32. There's still 10.5 minutes left. You're
trusting your defense there?
You have to, I think.
Do you? I trust your offense to get 3 yards.
4th and 3.
And play keep away.
Yeah.
I would have gone for it.
Okay. You can make a case.
Yeah. And I know it's looking revisionist now, but I thought so at the time. do what got you to this point, and that's for Nick. It's been being aggressive. We saw him go for that 4th and 5 earlier in the game. I love that call because that's what this whole team was built on.
Yeah, I just think it wasn't quite. It was a little too early for that. A little too early for your own 32 with 10 and a half minutes left.
Yeah, the way the Chiefs were scoring though, they're moving the ball anyway. Might as well give them a short field to score and get the ball back.
But I mean, it's a 1-point game. If you don't get the first down, they're scoring. The funny thing is they would have had worse field position if you didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly didn't know that at the time.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've talked so much about special teams, and they were a little better over the last, 6, 7 weeks.
I thought they were significantly better.
Significantly better. That's fair. But we also it was always in the back of your mind, it's going to come up and bite them and it was the worst possible time.
Yeah, there are plays in all facets that just can't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Jalen fumble picked up for a touchdown, and they're lucky that the Miles Sanders one got overturned. That was close.
It was really close.
It was really close. I agree with the call that they ended up making. That I didn't think it was a fumble, but man, I was surprised they overturned it because it was so close.
Yeah, I was too. I don't look by the rule. It's a fumble. I mean, it's an incomplete pass.
Yeah.
By the rule,
okay.
It looks like a fumble. So it's like, oh, he caught it and he fumbled it. But the way they're enforcing it, it was a drop. He was. I know he got hurt, but he's a guy who ran for 1,200 yards this year and made the Pro Bowl. Scored 11 touchdowns, and Miles was 7 for 16. That was his only target in the receiving game.
Saw him getting it. He left the game for a while. After the game, I saw him getting that hand wrapped. I don't know what he did to it, but he was clearly not healthy. And we saw a good dose of Gainwell, I'm guessing, because of that.
Yeah, Gainwell had 7 carries also, caught a few passes. They had a couple good runs early. Boston had a 9. Gainwell had a 9. And then, man, the Chiefs just shut it down. To me, that's maybe the biggest surprise of this game. Up there with not being able to get pass pressure. But that Mahomes gets rid of it quickly. And they do have a decent O-line. I didn't think they would completely shut down the pass rush. But the fact that the Eagles couldn't run the ball, if you run for $150 on the 49ers, you'd expect you to be able to run for at least that amount against the Chiefs' run defense. It's nowhere near as good as the Niners, and I don't quite get why they couldn't. I thought the Chiefs' linebackers and safeties were really quick and got to the ball carrier really quickly and tackled well. They were physical. I didn't see a lot of big holes. There was one that I thought Miles should have cut inside, and he kind of kicked it outside. But other than that, I didn't see a whole lot of holes for anybody to run through, and that was really surprising to me. I mean, the way they've been hammering it, and it's the Giants for the Giants, but the Niners, they ran for 150, and maybe part of that was that they had the ball so long. But they had the ball a long time today too. They had the ball 21 minutes in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of this game, they outplayed them.
They had the ball 30. They had 11, almost a 12-minute time of possession edge. And I give the Chiefs defense credit. They played better than I expected, and they didn't wilt under that. I mean, the Eagles had over 400 yards. They kept converting third downs. They were on the field a lot. But that defense made plays when they needed to. Eagles defense didn't.
They didn't, and they needed one. They needed just one play. Get off the field once in the second half, and they couldn't do it. That was tough. That was tough to watch. And you kind of got that feeling that, they can't stop them here. They just can't do it.
Yeah. 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 A lot of disappointments tonight. At Nissan, we just made your choice for a new car an easier one than ever with our most exciting and fuel-efficient lineup. The choice is yours, and get great offers across our full line. Shop your local Nissan store today at nissanusa.com.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. Reuben, let me take you into the locker room a little bit. I've never been in a losing locker room of Super Bowl. I've been in losing locker rooms in the regular season and in playoff games, but it was somber, as you'd expect. It was a lot of guys like making sure they took the time to go and you're okay. Like it meant a lot this whole season. It's a tough scene. Like it's tough to watch. The interview room too is right next to the Chiefs interview room, so you can like hear celebration going on while you're like behind the other curtain. I was trying to just watch everything in the Eagles locker room. I noticed Miles Sanders getting his hand wrapped. Noticed Devontae Smith walking in a walking boot. I don't know when that happened. Avonte Maddox was hobbling around. Jason Kelsey went to the podium and did his thing in full uniform, and after he was still in uniform when I left. Wasn't taking it off. Who knows? I mean, I think he'll be back, but you just never know. I mean, that there's a good chance it was Fletcher Cox's last game as an Eagle. We'll see about Brandon Graham. So there's a lot of questions about this team. We talked to James Bradbury for a while. Most likely his last game. So there was an emotional locker room, and they should be, because this is the last time that group's going to be together, and they fell short in the biggest game.
Yeah, and I don't want you to think we're being too negative. I mean, look, it was a great year. They had a hell of a season, exceeded everyone's expectations, got to a Super Bowl in Nick's second year, Jalen's second year as a starter. But there'll be time for that. We have a whole off season to kind of go through a lot of that stuff. I think right now it's just a really disappointing loss. When you're up 10, Super Bowl teams with a 10-point lead were at halftime were 26-1. And the one loss was the Falcons in overtime against the Patriots in 2016. So they're the first team to blow a 10-point lead in regulation. They should be disappointed. And I don't really feel like it's time to talk about free agency or what a great year it was. They should have won this game. And they had you never know when you're going to get back here or if you're going to get back here. And they had a great opportunity to finish this team off and play here or play there. It doesn't take many. They just needed to stop, and they did maybe one less mistake, and they win this football game. And there's a celebration going on right now, and they didn't do it. And a lot of these things are things we see bubbling over. I mean, they haven't gotten a lot of takeaways down the stretch. Turnover margin's been an issue. It was -1. Obviously, you're not going to beat the Chiefs at -1. So. The things that they've been doing well that they didn't do well is what really surprised me. Pressuring the quarterback and running the football.
Yeah, and you're right to bring up you don't know when you'll be back here. We think there's a good base here with Jalen and certainly still with the Lions, but there are a lot of free agents, and we do know now that Shane Steichen is leaving to take that job with the Colts, and we think there's a chance Jonathan Gannon could be leaving to take the job with the Cardinals, which is tough to walk into that interview on Monday with that tape from this game, but there's still a chance you could lose him. So, when you get these opportunities and you fail to capitalize on them, it stings because you don't know when you'll get another one. And as much as you think that this is the beginning of something that could be special for a lot of years in a row, you just don't know that. So, you're right. I mean, there'll be time, and there were certainly a ton of positive things in this game.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about them, too, because Jalen Hurts, aside from really one play, was great. I mean,
can we talk about it for a minute?
Yeah, I think we should, because I thought it was telling that after that mistake, nothing changed. He was as poised as you'd want him to be, and we've seen that from him in regular season games, but to do it in the Super Bowl is special.
He was incredible, and that was I don't even know what happened. It looked like he didn't get hit. He just dropped the ball, and
He was trying to put it to his outside hand.
it just bounced up to I mean, it was just a perfect bounce, just like Derek Barnett got a perfect bounce 5 years ago. That's the way the ball bounces. And those bounces have not gone the Eagles' way the second half of the year. Every loose ball, I did the math. I don't remember what it was. I think they'd recovered 5 out of 21 fumbles by either team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's 5 out of 22 now. But Jalen was incredible. First quarterback in history to complete 70% of his passes, throw for 300 yards with no interceptions in the Super Bowl. Never happened.
Yeah.
And then you had 70 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Just the second player ever to score 3 rushing touchdowns in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and when you look at the efficiency, I mean, his passer rating is 103.4. He's 24. We know there have been 8 quarterbacks now, 24 or younger, started the Super Bowl. The highest passer rating of any of them was Tom Brady at 86. He was at 103.4. This is a performance that nobody his age has ever come close to. He put together a masterpiece, running the ball, throwing the ball, leading his team. He didn't get a whole lot of help at times. There were moments it seemed like he was just a one-man show out there. And I mean, there's guys who made great catches. That's probably not totally fair, but
I'm looking at the stat sheet. Devontae Smith 7 for 100, AJ Brown 6 for 96, Dallas Goedert 6 for 60.
Yeah, and they all made some great catches. Devontae and AJ both had 45-yard catches. The 2 longest catches ever by an Eagles wide receiver in a Super Bowl, right there. Those 2 guys, not surprising. Yeah, they were great. But I think this is – look, we've known Jalen, what level he's been playing on. He's a second-team All-Pro. He's a Pro Bowler. He's MVP runner-up. But I think the world saw what kind of player he is. I think this was his coming out as far as, the national and international stage. I mean, he was magnificent and made so many big plays. I thought he ran at the right times. I thought he threw the ball deep, which we thought they would do. The Quez play, I keep going back, but I mean, perfect throw.
It was a great throw.
If you can place that now, he's 28 for 38 for 350. I don't think Quez would have scored.
No, because he was not diving, but he was going to the ground.
Yeah, but they would have had a first and goal like on the 8 or 9. But the thing that bugs me about that play is that he didn't need to leave his feet. Just keep running, and the ball's going to come right to you.
No, we've seen that with him now for a while.
And I've had enough of that. I mean, that's not why they lost the game because of Quez. But I was thinking that, that's going to be the biggest rep of his life. That would be the biggest rep of his life. They came up small.
Yeah, and there were some penalties aside from the Bradbury. I mean, the Isaac Seumalo false start. They had a 3rd and 1, and then they end up in a 3rd and 6, and that's where Jalen fumbles the ball.
Without that penalty, that never happens.
Yeah, there was the Zach Pascal offensive pass interference call early.
Yeah. Sue had illegal hands to the face. That gave them a first down. There was a penalty that wiped out a Gainwell, a nice gain by Gainwell. I forget what it was, but there was only 6. It wasn't like they had 12 penalties, but a lot of them were really costly.
Costly penalties.
There was a delay a game that just shouldn't happen. They weren't even close. They weren't even ready to snap the ball. I think they had 2, right? They had 2 delays or 1 delay.
I remember 1.
Yeah, maybe just 1. But yeah, there were some costly penalties. It was just it wasn't a clean game. It was a sloppy game. Too many mistakes. Can't do that against that team. It's really that simple. You just can't have those negative, those minus plays.
Yeah. And I thought Andy Reid kind of gave him a gift in the first quarter. There was that 4th and 3. He elected to kick a field goal, and it doinked.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something I was like, man, Eagles have an advantage coaching right now. You can't do that. And then late in the end of the half, they not only did they prevent the Chiefs from double dipping, like that was the moment I thought they were going to win a Super Bowl. Was TJ Edwards gets Mahomes and he's gimpy, and then the Eagles were able to get a field goal out of it. I would have taken a shot there at the end zone. There was plenty of time. They let it run down. They called a timeout, and then they kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
I get why they did that. I was pushing for them to be as aggressive as possible in this game because I thought they needed points. I didn't love that, but I liked that they got points instead of letting the Chiefs double dip because they came out in the third quarter and scored. So the fact that they went into halftime with that 10-point lead, you felt really good about it. Ugh. It's going to be a long plane ride home for those guys.
Yep. Yeah.
You got anything else here? It's a tough podcast to do because it completely flipped from what I thought we were going to be talking about.
Yeah.
And then we're here,
Yeah. It's just everything was going so well. I mean, they were carrying out the plan to perfection for a half. Gosh, they had 25 first downs. They had 417 yards. They were 11 for 18 on third down.
They outplayed them so much in the first half that they had a 10-point lead, and that's with gifting the Chiefs 7 points. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of these plays where you look back and go, oh, man, they make that play, they win this game. Or they make that play, they win this game. And those are the plays that are going to stick with them the whole way back on the plane. I was impressed by Jalen after the game. Talking about learning from this. I don't know how much he has to learn. Don't fumble the football. But,
he knows that.
He knows that. I thought I was very impressed with his poise. I thought the Eagles were outcoached in this game, which, I guess experience matters. You have Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. They've coached in big games before. Really, that entire staff has. Yeah. I kind of missed all of Nick after the game. Were you able to listen to that?
Yeah, we had it on post game live. I caught bits and pieces. I'll have to go through it. He did say, he talked about how the defense had to be better. I mean, 2 of those touchdowns were identical plays on opposite sides of the field. That's just, come on. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
At least the ring around the posy play didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so abrupt. It was like you're up 10 and you're thinking they're gonna win a Super Bowl here, and it just got away from them. And
I was pretty convinced up until late in that game they were gonna win.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, even when they tied it, I thought they had a shot. It was a weird game because they did so many things well, they just stopped doing them. But yeah, look, ultimately, if you don't pressure Patrick Mahomes, he's going to beat you. And they didn't pressure him.
Yeah. It was a fun season. I know that's tough to look at now. It was a fun ride. We appreciate everyone who listened all season and read our work all season and listened this week when we did daily podcasts from Phoenix. That part was fun.
Do you want to do a Dave's Positivity Corner?
Positivity Corner?
Yeah.
Sure. Jalen Hurts. We just talked about him, but yeah. I mean, legit, real deal. No worries about him going forward. The only worry is how big is that number going to be, because it's going to be big.
It's going to be big, and it didn't go down today. It might have gone up a little bit. I thought AJ and Devontae both made some really big time catches. They both had about 100 yards. AJ was just under, and I'll put Goddard in there too. My God, I don't think he had one easy. The hardest 60 yards. I mean, he just made big play after big play. I do kind of feel like they need another. I mean, those 3 guys are pretty much it. I mean, they have other guys who catch the ball here and there, but I feel like they might need a legitimate 4th guy who can. It's not Quez, and it's not,
They should be good with these 3.
No, they should be good, and they are good. I mean, they won 14 games and 2 playoff games, but I think they need more than that. And and look, Quez had a really disappointing season. I mean, he had almost 600 yards, over 600 yards last year. So
Although, I mean, in fairness to him, we knew his numbers would go down when you add A.J. Brown.
But you just thought when he got those chances, he would make those plays.
And you'd certainly like to see that happen.
And he did in the first half of the year. I mean, I think he had 4 catches of 40 yards or more, 30 yards or more. They just the second half's been a disaster for him. But look, Devontae's 24, AJ's 25, and Jalen's 24, and that's your offensive nucleus. They're going to score points, and whether Kelsey comes back or not, they're going to have a really good offensive line. Sam Allo could go as a free agent, so they might have to replace 2 spots, maybe 1. But they still have Lane, they still have Dickerson, they still have Mulata. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Their offense is going to be – look, they scored 35 points in a Super Bowl. I think it's the most ever by a losing team in a Super Bowl, I believe. Because I think the Patriots had that record with 33, right, 41-33.
Yeah.
But I think I think if you have questions about moving forward, it's on the other side, and there'll be time to talk about that. But I feel pretty good with those receivers, man. They're studs, and they're young, and they're under contract. They're just getting started.
Yeah. Chris Stapleton, I liked his national anthem.
Yeah, it was good. Was there anyone on defense you thought played well? I mean, I thought GJ was pretty active.
He had that one big hit.
Yeah, that was a big hit. But
Pop Pacheco.
Yeah, there was no.
I mean, the line didn't do much. I was disappointed in the edge rushers. I thought they had a chance to really make some hay against those tackles, and those tackles held up.
Yeah.
Reddick really, of all the players, and he complained about the field after, I thought he really struggled to get his footing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More than anyone.
Yeah.
And we should talk about that a little bit. A lot of the players were complaining about it.
The field sucked.
The field sucked. Reddick said it was the worst field he's ever played on. You just saw so many guys slipping.
And that's not like a one team or the other thing. Both teams struggled with it. It's just like the NFL. Come on. How are you playing? Like it's the biggest game in the world.
It's a billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
And you put that field out there, and they showed after the halftime show, they showed all these people just filling in divots. I mean, come on. Shouldn't happen. They're going to have to figure some stuff out because you can't play a football game. It's like a high school field. You have better luck going over and playing at Seneca.
I wonder where you're going.
I didn't know. I really had no idea.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about if we got anything else for a positivity corner. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, Jake Elliott's still perfect at field goals in the postseason.
He is Mr. Automatic, Jake Elliott.
For 15 for 15 or 16 for 16, something like that. Yeah.
Britton Covey had a nice little return.
Yeah. Was that career long?
On a hamstring?
Yeah. A little juice in the return game.
Yeah. I don't have much else.
Yeah. Well, here's one positive. Even though the Eagle season's over, Eagle Eye season never ends.
That is fair.
We'll be back, in the next few days. We'll see what the schedule is. We know that Howie and Nick are going to talk at some point. We'll have a pod, I'm sure, after that.
Yeah, locker room cleanout day.
We'll have a pod after that.
Yeah, and there, normally, locker room cleanout day is a day to talk to all the pending free agents. That'll keep us busy because as we shift to the off season, there's a lot of free agents pending.
Let me ask you something. And this is not the time for this, but do you think today's game, how much does today's game figure like more than other games into these decisions? Like Miles was a non-factor, and maybe some of that was the injury. But if you're Howie and you're like, trying to decide, do I want to pay Miles $5.5 million or something? How do you weigh the regular season where he had 1,200 yards and a Pro Bowl versus today?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think you try not to weigh it that much more.
Inordinately.
Yeah. I mean, you weigh it a little bit more. I think you try to avoid making hasty decisions based on one game.
Sure.
But I think it's almost impossible to, not have it factor in.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was like a case of Miles didn't show up because it was a big stage or anything.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. The tough decisions, he's one of them, but there are many. And it's crazy because we're not that far off. We're just about a month until the start of free agency. And before then, you'd think they want to get that Jalen Hurts deal done because then you start filling in around that. you have to have that in place first, I think.
And one thing I know, people are like, well, they're not going to be able to sign anybody. That's not the case. The cap went up to what, 226, 227,
Probably 225, but something
225,
like that,
somewhere in there. I mean, how he's going to be able to sign? He's not going to be able to sign all of them. But you prioritize it. There's some guys that they won't want to sign. There's other guys that draft picks are going to have to replace. Maybe Nakobe Dean's going to have to be a starter next year. Zach McPherson, we don't know, but that's why I have to keep drafting well. There'll be a time for this, but I just don't want you to think they're not going to be able to sign anyone. They will.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. All right.
If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Again, thank you to everyone who watched and listened all week, all season. Thank you to Ben Berry, Tom Feiner, Alex Reuben, our production staff who did a great job all year, and especially this week with all the craziness. We appreciate them a ton. We appreciate you guys. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.